Hello and welcome to my first knitting slash general crafting podcast. It's going to be more than just knitting. I wanted to make a little series of videos to somewhat keep myself accountable and also just to document me going through a little bit of a WIP busting challenge. You may have seen stash busting, which is where you look at your yarn and you try and only use you only knit up projects that use yarn that you've got in the house, or predominantly stuff that you've kind of already got in your stash, as opposed to buying new yarn for projects. I'm gonna try and do somewhat in the basis of frog it or finish. I'm gonna try and do WIP stashing, WIP busting. So I've got a big pile of projects which are in some stages of started or finished, and I think that they just really need me to go through and concentrate on them for a while as a fun challenge. So I'm going to be using the term podcast for this in the same way as sort of other knitting channels tend to, and I'm going to be stealing their format almost entirely as well. And this is like a generic one, it's not a specific creator, to mean a video rather than just kind of audio describing knitting. So the format of those tends to be finished objects, works in progress, and new acquisitions, so basically new yarn. And I'm going to pretty much do the same sort of thing. For this video especially, I'm going to show all of the WIPs that I'm going to be working on, and only a couple of finished objects. So it's going to be predominantly like a little bit of finished objects, quite a lot in the middle of the thing for WIPs, and then a tiny little bit on the acquisition side. The format, like the proportions of that, will probably, fingers crossed, change, because I won't show all the same WIPs every time. I'll just kind of show what the end product is. So jump right in, she says. I thought I'd show the first finished object, and the reason why I am filming this up here rather than anywhere else is the scarf or shawl that I finished last week, which is still blocking. So this is the 198 Yards of Heaven pattern, which is a free one by, I believe, Christine Verity. It's free on Ravelry. I've made it before, and I did a couple of extra repeats on it to make it bigger. It consists of kind of two parts. It's a triangle scarf, so you cast on like 5 there, and then you increase at each edge and in the middle, and that creates a sign, and then you creates the shape, and then you cast off along the edges here, along the long edge, and that side is one of the side pieces. It makes sense if you've ever done a triangle scarf. So it's composed of 2 parts, which is the general lace pattern and then the border. And so I did the lace pattern while there was still red in the colour scheme, and then I basically used pretty well the entire second ball just on the border, because the rows get so long and the border's like 16 rows. So yeah, that is, and that's a yarn that I spun during Tour de Fleece. So I've used it up. In fact, I lost yarn chicken with it, so I needed to go and grab some other, it was just a plain black Shetland, so I needed to go and grab enough for, I think, the final row and the cast off row. So it's used up all of the stuff that I've, all of the yarn that I spun as that first project in Tour de Fleece is that. The other finished object I've brought up is my twister scarf. I made a whole video on this, so I'm not going to show it off too much, but it's a cloth twister mat, and it's got a little pocket in it in one corner, which contains, I can fully reveal, the 2 dice. So I've got one for the colour, which was still drying when I finished that video, with the wild card and dealer's choice, and which hand, left hand, left foot, right foot, again with wild card and dealer's choice for it. So the idea is you can wear it as a scarf to a party, and then if the party's a bit boring, you can chuck out twister. And yeah, I did the making of that. It's the video I posted just before I'm going to post this one. So if there is curiosity about how, why, or what, or you just want to watch me make it, that's what that is. Okay, massive WIP stash. So I had this basket that I just put in the living room, and I was like, oh, I can just put my WIPs in there. They're starting to kind of sprawl out over the floor, and they do not fit. So my goal of this WIP busting is twofold. One is that I have a lot of projects that I want to do, like my sewing projects, which I then don't do because I'm too busy knitting. And I want to reduce my reliance on knitting. So during this period of time, I'm not going to start any new knitting projects. And then I'm hoping that that will allow me to bring a little bit more focus to some other things like sewing alongside it. And also for me to get to those knitting projects which are a bit harder or more involved or that I've been putting off for whatever reason. And also so that this basket just has less in it, because it's just the living room's becoming a bit messy. There's too many like half done knitting projects. And also all of the sewing and other projects that I've been trying to do that I haven't got round to because I've been too busy focusing on knitting, which I think is fine. If you're only into knitting, that's okay. But for me, I want to be able to utilise different kind of crafts to achieve different things and to get more of the brain poison out that affects creative people. If you've seen the Thought Slime video, you know what I mean. So, first WIP that's been hanging around since I think last summer. These may well have been in my house for a year, maybe less, I don't know. This is a pair of my friend Job's jeans. And I wanted to try out some like very visible mending through applique for when this happens. Yeah. Downsides of being well endowed, perhaps. So what I wanted to do for these is to create like a patch, like a really big visible patch that's got like some big pointy bits and goes like down the leg and covers the crotch area so that there's like that coverage there, but also creates an additional kind of gothic design on these. So they like how these jeans fit. I thought I'll just pop something over the top and sew it down. I have been put off doing it because I'm worried that there will be extra bits of foldiness in the fabric, but at some point I will just need to try it. So WIP number 1 of 7,000. This is one that I've been working on like today and recently. So I am making, this is a knitting project, I'm making a pair of trousers. And this is one of those. I really ought to finish those knitting projects that I've already picked up and been working on in earnest. So the progress on this is good and I am pretty happy with it, and I'm looking forward to finishing these and getting, because they're chunky and because they're quite big, I'm looking forward to getting these out of the WIP basket. So this is a pair of trousers. I made some dungarees before, which were predominantly for clowning, but also when it was cold, they were really handy to have because they had this super wide fit. And that then meant that when I went out, I could just basically put it on like having an extra jumper for your legs. And I just wanted to make some more of those in slightly more kind of goth colours than like circus clown colours. So this is the final piece of that. It is worked up, lightly adapted from a project. Where's one of the other pieces? This is lightly adapted from a project that I found in a book called Wild Knitting, a charity shop. So I've done it as, in this one it was like 2 front pieces per leg and 2 back pieces per leg, and what I've done is made 1 front leg piece for each leg and 1 back leg piece for each leg, so it comes to a total of 4. So I've got this piece which I've done with stripes, and that's that's like the right front, and it's predominantly straight, and then it's got a little bit of crotch shaping in it, wherever the crotch is there. So it's got the little curve for the crotch, but then it's straight on the outside edge. So that's one of the front pieces. This is one of the back pieces. For this one I decided I would do colour work. So it's got, the bird sticks out with really nice contrast. Although a lot of the other designs don't have like good contrast and some of them are somewhat upside down. It was quite fun to do, and quite fun to add like a lot of extra little bits and pieces to one leg, but by the end of it I was pretty tired of it. This one which I'm doing, I'm going to do some surface embroidery, so I'm just doing it as plain blocks And then I'm going to do some like crisscrosses and things over the top in probably black. I've got some black here, maybe some other bits like contrasting. But yeah, and then there is another piece. Oh, there it is. This is the other front piece, which is all diagonal stripes. So I've got a little extra motif here, but then it's all diagonal stripes. And I've aimed to do a different kind of colour vibe, colour story for each of them. So this is dark red, this is purple, this is green, and then this is blue. So that's that one. I suspect that that will be done quite soon. I'm kind of going gangbusters on the final piece, and it's all just straight knitting from here on to the end of the leg, just until it's the right length. And then it's just going to be sewing in a waistband and adding in some pockets, which I'll also sew. And I'm probably going to sew that all by hand, and it usually doesn't take a lot of motivation for me to want to sew by hand. I don't really like sewing by machine, but sewing by hand would probably be quite easy. Okay, something else I've been working on, including today, is this piece of, I'm going to say cross stitch. I have a bit of Ada. I like the idea of making something that was embroidered that looked a little bit like the old-fashioned museum giant tapestries that you see. And those are cross-stitched. But when I was doing some other cross-stitching stuff, I noticed that the thing that I really like is when it looks all clustered. Itchy nose. When it looks all clustered and you can just see like the front leg of the cross, so then it looks like it's got all the diagonals. And I realised that if I hold all kind of 6 strands of embroidery floss together, I can do just diagonals, and that fits the Ada quite nicely. It fills it. So this is from a cross-stitch pattern book called Victorian Cross Stitch, and I lightly simplified the design. So it's roses and violets, and then I've just put it kind of on this, somewhat copying, somewhat improving, to make this little cone. So I'm just doing the background at the moment, which is incredibly boring and tedious, which is why my progress is stalled. So my hope is it'll kind of all end up looking like this, with the kind of fully filled in with the black background. But yeah, more to go. I don't think I want to do a project like this again. It's been so tedious when it's got to the background. So yeah, I just thought this was something a little bit fun and different to be doing. So I'll need to finish this, and then I'm going to bind. I don't know if I'm going to line this part. I think I'll decide at some point, but I'm going to line the bottom, bias bind the top and bottom, possibly line the inside as well, and then just have it as a little pot that I can put stuff in. Haven't fully decided what I'm going to use it for, but I do like that kind of style of container. May also recognise this if you've seen my Tour de Fleece video. This is a little bag that I've made, predominantly just as a swatch, to be honest. Like, in some ways this is a finished object. I washed it and I blocked it because also it was quite greasy and it needed a little bit more intensive washing. But this is the thread wrapped single yarn that I made, and I just wanted to swatch it and see what the yarn looked like when it was knitted up. And so I did that, and I can use it now as a kind of bit of a reference point for the different levels of tightness. I thought in order to make it into something, I'd just fold it up, sew down the edges and put a zip on and line it. So it's just waiting for me to be motivated for doing that. And also kind of to decide if that's what I want to do, or if I want to do some other kind of different kind of finishing. I do really like that with a lot of my bags, but I don't know, something about this one is saying it doesn't want to be lined, but then that makes me question how I should seal it, because if I put a zip in, it's quite nice to have a lining to put the zip tape in. So I think that's why that one has stalled a little bit. But either way, the knitting part's done, the blocking is done, and it's just kind of sat around as a non-completed object. So it makes the list. This guy is an unhinged project, and I need to remember I've got it when I want a thing to put in my bag and take out with me, because I keep thinking I don't have one of those projects, and I do. I really like seams and sewing up because I just like that. And I had this idea of, what about making like a parquet floor jumper? So something where you just had, instead, not only was it not seamless, you had loads of extra seams, and you kind of make it a bit of a feature, and you have like the pieces. I was thinking like this big, just making up the whole jumper and you just sew them all together. And then I realised I had this yarn because I wanted to do it kind of reds and blacks, and I didn't, not greens and blacks, and I didn't have the green yarn or the black yarn, or like I didn't have the right sort of shades in stash, and I don't really want to buy any for this weird unhinged project. But I've got this one, which is I think it's zigzag sock yarn, and I thought, you know what, I can just use the green bits and the black bits, and I can make them up into these little wiggly noodles. I think I fully pinned together. Yeah. So I grabbed out some pretty skinny little needles, like what, 3.5 mil or something like that. And I'm still torn between whether I want to do it fully as winding off the little bobbins to then knit up, and then I've just got like the pink ones and the green ones, or if I want to just knit from the ball and then cut it and cast off when I get to the end of the green section and before I get to the pink or anything. I've tried both. I still don't have a good conclusion. And this is what I've got so far. I don't know how much material I'm going to have to work with because I only have this singular ball. I'm making pieces that are 10 stitches wide because when I made them wider they weren't long enough. So I've got these little 10 stitch wide noodles in the 2 shades of green and the like black and white. Some of them I've done exclusively as just the one colour, like this is just a black one. And then this one is one where I've got the different shades, so I just started knitting and then stopped when I got to pink or yellow. So this is one of those ones that's going to take a long time because it's very slow. I don't know how much yarn I'm going to have to work with, like I said, so it might be like a cropped jumper, it might not have sleeves, it might... I quite like the idea of it being long sleeve, so I might do it like cropped and long sleeve because I think that'll match the slightly unhinged vibe that I want to get from this one, but either way. And then I've been crocheting them together because I thought that'd be kind of fun to crochet it together with pink. So on the outside it just looks like the greens and blacks, and then on the inside it's got all these pink seams, which means you can turn it inside out and have it got a bit of a zombie vibe, which I feel like is a level of versatility I want to have in my jumper. I want to have in my wardrobe. So normal mode and zombie mode. So that's that one, but obviously it's going to take forever. It's a little bit tedious. There's lots of casting on and casting off, which can be off-putting. And I also keep forgetting that I've got it. So that's quite a big thing. Oh, also, and I was working on it somewhat in earnest when I got really sick with E. coli from swimming in the river. So I think I've got like bad associations with it because that's when I was doing that. Either way, it's there, and I should remember to take it out with me when I want a take-out project for knitting. Next piece. I bought my bestie this for her birthday, and I've borrowed it back. It wasn't for her birthday this year, it was for a couple of years ago, so she's had time to have a bit of a look through it. And basically I am doing it slightly differently because, you know, following instructions as they are intended is fully lame. But I'm having a go at making one of the ganzis from in here with my own modification. It's New Haven. Looks like that. Yeah. You can't see it all. Well, everything about ganzis is stitch detail, so I wanted to try making something. I got this wool last year at the Southern Wool Show. It's 100% wool, and it is, I like to describe it as sturdy. It's scratchy as fuck. And I just wanted to make a scratchy as fuck wool jumper that looked really old-fashioned because that was just what I wanted. So I've made one of the pieces. Ganzis are traditionally done all in, like, done in the round, and then, like, you start the shoulder and work down, and you work that in the round as well on double-pointed. I like seams, so I'm doing it seamed. So you can kind of see there's a lot of texture on this. I changed the gauge to fit the wool. I'm doing it in pieces, so I'm doing whatever bits work for me. So I've got, you can kind of see a zigzag pattern there. This one's kind of bricks, and then up the top we've got X's, and there's a little bit of garter stitch at the bottom and at the top to make that. So this is either the front or the back panel. I'm doing the front and back the same, and then I'm going to be doing some of the Ganzi construction of, I'm going to be doing the sleeve, the extra little gusset here so that you have like a flat front and then like an extra triangle piece here for the shoulder, and the sort of diamond shaped gusset here. I'm just going to do them all as separate pieces and sew them together because I like doing little bits and sewing them together rather than working in the round. And there was something very like the old-fashioned scratchiness of this brought me joy, and I wanted to do it on straight needles. And I've got this far through the second bit, so progress has been made. If this has slowed down a little bit on the second one because I'm needing to kind of refer back to make them match. Also, I slowed down a little bit on progress because I knew I was going to run out of blue. So these are already different shades. Welcome to the people that like matching dye lots. Log off now. But I know I don't have enough, so I've got greys, I've got black, and I need to think about the way that I'm going to be combining these because it's definitely not going to work to just have all over blue with the little bits of grey detail. I either need to start talking faster or I'm going to have to separate these out and edit them together. I think I'm going to go with the second option. Okay, I'll be back after the absolutely flawless edit I'm sure future me will put in. Okay, we made another few minutes of video. Definitely flawless edited. This is a WIP that I've not looked at for a while, so this one, at some point WIPs turned into UFOs. I don't know. This one's also one I was using as a travel project. No more letting me cast on plain projects that I can do when I'm out, because I've definitely got them already. So I found this yarn. It is called Homespun by King Cole. It's called Homespun. I did not spin it. It's by King Cole. And it is this kind of nice wool, 22% merino, 22% alpaca, 23% polyamide, 23% acrylic and 10% viscose. So it's about 50-50, well it's 40-60 wool, alpaca and synthetic. And it's got this kind of nice tweed in it, sort of a dark charcoal grey. I'm glad I decided to film this video after it was already getting dark outside, so the lighting is terrible. And I'm not professional enough to have lights. I haven't touched this project in a while. Basically it's long socks. I made the sock part and I wanted to have a seam run up the back, so I made a sock. That's the heel. It's been kind of screwed up a little bit weird. It's an afterthought heel apparently, and then I've just been working on them 2 at a time, putting in whatever random cables bring me joy, and then when I get to however high I want to get to, or however high the yarn lets me get to, I will cast off and I will have some long socks. My absolute goal was to be able to knit these fully as tights, but I don't know if I'll be able to get enough of that out of it. I've got these 2 bits and then I've got these 2, so I'm just going to keep going until I either have tights or have long socks. I was thinking that I might make them with a mock garter, which I've seen something before for like describing tights. So to make like a over knee sock, a waistband, and then just kind of have the suspender belt bits sort of built in. So basically knitting a strip like that if I don't have enough to go around the top part of my thigh. Looking at it at the moment, I'm feeling quite hopeful that I'll be able to get a full pair of tights out of this, but I don't know. So I'll either have long socks or tights, depending on where I get to, or I'll just have this hanging out as a UFO for the rest of my life because I'm never working on it. So I'm going to put this one back into rotation as I keep finishing my projects, and that one, because it's reasonably small and not the hardest, this one will work okay as a travel project. So if I've got any train journeys or anything coming up, I can work on this guy. Okay, something I mentioned in Tour de Fleece, skirt. So I am making this incredibly haunted vintage pattern. Little shout out to the children's ridiculous faces on it. This one in the middle is the best. I'm making this skirt with a little bit of modification because I can't follow rules to save my life. So I wanted to make this out of alpaca. I spun some of the yarn in Tour de Fleece. Noisy. I spun some of it in Tour de Fleece, so I've got quite a lot. And then this is all of just the previous alpaca that I'd spun. it's all pretty much the same. I've been spinning it reasonably consistently because I only have one mode. So this is for the final project, and this is the kind of mock-up version of it. So I've been using this I want it to be like a wearable mock-up. I was using this to work out how much yarn I needed. I was using it to practice the right way around, to practice the cable patterns, and essentially I've just been messing around with it. Like, that's the original cable pattern, that it's these diamonds and then it's got like these circles in it as cables. But I thought it might look quite nice with moss stitch in the middle, and I think that looks much nicer and like much bigger and flatter, and I like the way that sits, so I'm going to do that on the final one. And then I've been playing around with this one. Had these circles as well, and then I stopped looking at the pattern so closely and ended up just twisting them all together, but I like that. So I've got an idea based on doing this much of it. I'm going to keep working on the pattern to end up with something which is wearable but not the final pattern. It will have slightly weird cables in it and stuff. I don't think anyone will care. Anyone that's not a knitter will not notice, and anyone that is a knitter will probably still not notice either, or at least won't care. So I'm going to finish making this one. This is done in 2 pieces. This is the front or the back, and then this is the back or the front. I think they're both done the same, and this is just the ribbing for it, because I got bored of doing cables and just wanted to do some plain ribbing. So the waistband's done, and then I'm going to just knit my way through this until it's long enough. Write down the cables that I'm using, and fit the whole thing in alpaca. That one's going to be another slightly long project, mostly because it's just quite a few pieces, but I'm sure that as soon as I start dedicating the time and effort to it, it'll fly off the needles, especially when I've got my established cable pattern. I think that then as I do repeats, I'll get faster and faster. Got these socks, which I think I cast on before I had my breakdown, and then I had a breakdown and then couldn't do anything complicated with knitting, and it's taken me a little while to feel confident that I want to come back to it, but it's colour work time, baby. I bought this pattern. I don't buy them a lot. I don't buy patterns a lot. Usually I use free stuff or I just make up my own. And it is called, I think it's called Snowdrop. Oh, First Snowfall Socks, and it's by Running Yarn from 2018. And it just looked really cool. Excuse me. But the interesting part of it was that it had this little extra snowflake detail, which I assumed was in the heel flap, although now I've been doing it, I found out this chart is in fact for the underside of the foot. So I'm part way through the first sock. I really like navy and red as a combo, so I'm doing that. I've got this far through. So I really like this design, and that's all round the top of the sock. But I picked it up and I was really struggling with the chart, because at the bottom it's like that, and that's a lot. And then it had this snowdrop, but instead of being where I thought it was, it's just in the base of the foot, and I don't know that I want to put the snowflake. I don't know that I want to make that much effort to put a tiny little colourwork snowflake on the underside of my foot. Yeah. So I've once again stopped following the rules, and I think that works well for me. And so I'm just copying this main pattern, which I really like, rather than doing this kind of little more fussy pattern. So I'm just doing this bigger one. And I'm just going to do that along either side of where the decreases happen in a slightly unusual way. So I've edited it to make it a bit simpler for myself, whether that's still my brain not cooperating and not wanting to do something full colour work. But either way, I've got a heel and that much of the foot done. So I need to finish this one and start the second one. I'm going to pause this for a little drink. I've been talking too much because I have too many WIPs. But yeah, I need to finish this sock and then start the second one. It's a little bit more of an involved process, but it's just a case of incorporating, doing little bits here and there until it's done. And I think that one's absolutely fine to run slowly in the background. This is one that I've been doing a lot of working on. I cast it on relatively recently. I don't know what it is about grey cardigans that makes me just want to knit them over and over, but I do. And this is another attempt at making a waterfall cardigan. I've tried various different kinds, and it's always kind of gone wrong for various reasons. The colour, the texture, the gauge, the stitch counts and things like that. So this is me having done a little bit more jumper and cardigan knitting and having sort of drafted my own stuff somewhat successfully. This is one of the front pieces for a waterfall cardigan. I've got one of the back pieces cast on as well. I've just got a big ball of 80% acrylic, 20% wool, and I'm just gonna work through this. It is drop shoulder with a straight sleeve, so it's all rectangles with only little bits of like a garter stitch edge there and at the edge, so this is going to be for the front edge just to stop it rolling so much. This is my most just knit forwards and backwards project. I guess the trouser legs now are like that because I finished the colour work section, but this is just the knit backwards and forwards. I took this one to some anti-fascist protesting on wooden needles so that they would be considered less of a weapon if anybody found them on me, despite this clearly being knitting. Whatever, I will say no more. Fuck fascism, I can say that. So this is a bit of a failed project, and this is a fix that's needed. So I made a onesie that's really warm for work, and I like it. And I wanted one that was less formal. So something that didn't make it look like I was wearing essentially like trousers and a button-down shirt, which is what my work onesie looks like. So I got this jumper, which I bought for my partner. It's 100% wool. It got washed. It doesn't fit. All the stitches are kind of a bit rippy. It's got some holes in it. So I sewed up the holes, changed the shaping of it. It's got a zip down the front, which I've sewn on. And I had some trousers attached to it that I made and out of this grey, and they were just bad. The material choice was not great. I think I needed another stretch to really make it feel very comfy. See, it's the middle of summer at the moment, so I've not been wonderfully motivated to finish making this. My partner was going to get rid of some trackies, so I was going to take those, modify them and attach them to this as much as I needed to make it work like a nice little onesie that I could throw on in the winter. But we've not yet gone through that process. I haven't like gone and stolen them out of their wardrobe yet. So there's what this is. It's kind of seasonally on hold because it's for cold weather, and right now the weather is really hot and I don't need to cover my whole body with wool. Yes. So this is a spinning project for spinning up some fleece. This is South Down, and this is the sheep got sprayed. You know how they spray numbers on sheep and stuff? And I found out that when I card this, it makes pink wool because it was sprayed with red. And when I wash it, the stain stays in there, like it stains the yarn. So I was just making pink yarn, and I basically just got bored of spinning the South Down. But I've got better on my eye spin. I've got better at spinning in general and spindle spinning, so this will just need carding up at some point and spinning, spindle, eye spin, whatever. It'll just need spinning, and then this whole project part will be over. I pulled out all of the wool that had the red staining on it, so I know that this is all of it, so I just need to finish that. I did already spin a whole load of it up and knit it into some little wrist warmers, which have sort of come out quite cute. So some of it has already been used, which I think probably sapped some of that motivation. This is a cardigan. This is a waterfall cardigan as well. It's one of those ones that's just to sit kind of open. And this is a bit of a weird pattern. It's self-drafted, for as much as it's been thought through at all. And this is a attempt to use up some of the kind of mini skeins that I've got. So I've got this purple, which is just jewel spun, and then which is like just the Sirdar jewel spun, and then everything that's a colour is either like a hand dyed yarn that I got, a mini hand dyed, or just some other yarn that I had kicking around that I was waiting. Like this is from Hobbycraft. This is just baby acrylic. So this was just some smaller quantities of yarn that I thought would look good with purple and make like a nice flowy cardigan. And this is the full length of it. I'm gonna wash it and hang it and see what happens with that. And I think I've got the, yeah, this is the one where I've done it. So this has got the sleeve piece kind of attached in. So I've done it through like a weird construction. So I've got this bit of sleeve, this unrolls and stretches and stuff to make basically half an arm width. And then this part comes to here, and then like the front bit lays flappy open to make that kind of waterfall look. So this section is done. And then I've got two other sections. So I'm working along the longest bit at the moment, which is at the back. Because I'm doing it as like the front and a half sleeve, the back is also like a T shape. So the back is both of the arms for the back of the arms, and then I've got the front and the other front. So this part is done up to the armpit because I also worked it in a continuous piece. I'm not explaining this well. I probably shouldn't have been filming this today. I'm too tired to make any sense. But yeah, so this is like this bit, and then this is the back, and then this is the other front. So it's all done up to here. One of the sleeves and top bits done. I'm working on the back and the backs of the sleeves, and then I've got to do the front and the other front of a sleeve. And yeah, I think part of the reason this stalled is because I'm worried about running out of purple and don't want to have to decide which is like the bump colour that I'm doing, and I don't want to have to decide what to do next with it. But also this, it's plain garter stitch for 2 rows, plain stocking stitch for 1 row, and then I've got this wave that I've put in, which looks really cool. But also just requires like it's a 6 stitch repeat. So you go along 5 stitches, back by 4 again, and then your next stitch, and then you do your 5 stitches, back, forwards, 1 stitch. So it's just a little bit of faff when it comes to the colour sections. Not loads. I wanted it to just be really light and flowy and diaphanous. But yeah, it's just something else that needs me to work on it, and I put it down and started doing other things. So I think not having a shiny new toy will bring me back to this, and I'm sure when I get into it I'll have fun. We're nearly at the end, I say, with about 5 things left. So these are a pair of trousers. My bestie bought them. They're in a 4XL. They don't fit her, she doesn't like them for whatever reason. Asked if I wanted them to basically have the fabric for, and I want to make trousers. I'm thinking I might make a sewing vlog about it, attempts in making trousers. These are slightly stretchy material because they're originally from Shein, and I want to make them go from like this wide-ish leg to some nice tapered kind of cigarette trousers. At the moment they come up to about here, so I also want to bring them down to like the low hip area that I like to have them on. So I need to cut off the waistband, I need to slim down the legs. But I watched a Lena Norm's video where she was saying how if you had a straight edge at the edge of your trousers, you could just really easily bring them in. And not by this much. They all ended up really twisted. I got really demotivated. I've pulled out that stitching, so they're back as they were before I ever put the sewing machine through them. But it was demotivating. Trousers are intimidating. So I do need to just sack up and attempt to play with these again. But, you know, it's just been sat there while I cast on a million new little knitting projects and comfort knit. Those. This is a project I'd forgotten about until earlier today. This is a pair of trousers from my friend Kiara. She really liked them, and they had these wrappy tie things, and she said she really liked the adjustability of it. However, they are 100% silk, and they have ripped in the back because silk's quite a delicate fabric. So they've got a big rip in them. It's not over the seam or anything, so it's hard to sew up. It's going to be tricky to patch it and have it look nice. So she said, can you make me something from the fabric? And I went, yeah, sure. And then I've proceeded to not do that for months. Yeah, months and months. And so I was thinking today I'm going to have a go at making this into a top. I was thinking I'd make a wrap top, but now I'm not sure about that. So I'm going to have a go at making like a little sleeveless top, crew neck, and I think I'm going to try and use these guys. So I'm going to make it quite like a big sort of boxy fit over the body. And I think I'm going to try and incorporate these tie parts into a side seam, so then it can get like pulled in to be cinched around the waist. And I'm thinking that that'll be quite a nice way of incorporating the original tie part. Then I can just go around the cuts. Yeah, so I was thinking about that design today, and I think that's what I'm going to go for. We'll see if I change my mind or anything. We're quite similar body sizes, so I should be able to test it out on myself. And I may also have a go at maybe hiding a zip in there to make it really easy to get on and off, because this isn't stretchy. That's the only thing that makes me really nervous. And also it's like a really fancy fabric, so I don't want to cut into it. So it's stalled. This is just a story of how I've stalled everything. This is another lower half thing. Oh god, it's all lower half stuff here. Everything is trousers. This is a sewing project. I took my leggings pattern. I wanted to make opaque tights that were sewn as opposed to like knitted or anything like that. So I took a pair of leggings and I made a really long foot on them. And then I've been intimidated to try and get them to fit, because I don't know where I need to add or remove fabric. But again, I just need to sack up and do it. And also attach the waistband so that they stay up. I've made leggings before. They're not that intimidating. It's just making the foot bit fit. I think as soon as I do that, it should be easy to put the waistband on, finish it, and have this nice pair of opaque autumn as fuck tights. Got this kind of really fun leafy pattern, and it's just like a nice stretchy cotton. I got this from the scrap store, which I really like. So it was like second-hand, saved, rescued, and dead stocky type stuff. And I reckon that this is going to look badass under that alpaca skirt when I finally finish both of them. So that's my like autumn goals. And considering it's the end, like nearly the end of August, I should probably get on that. This is a tiny sewing project inspired by the Closet Historian. She made a moth brooch, and so I thought I would make a moth brooch. I got a few little bits of shiny fabric. These used to be bags, like, so it's foamy, so it's already quite thick. And I thought, I'm just going to sequin up the back. I have these sweet wrappers that I was thinking I could try and make sequins out of, and I've got a few of them. And I've made these little square sequins just by cutting them up into little squares, and then I've been embroidering them just to the front. It's a silly project. And I don't know if it's going to come out looking nice or not. But I suppose I ought to just finish it, and then if it doesn't look nice, accept that. I've put a safety pin in the back because, you know, why not exist in a budget reality? Oh, and I appear to have sewn it to secure it rather than just... Oh yeah, because this won't be the openable side, is it? Yeah, so I've got the openable side there. I must have just wiggled it through, and then I've sewn this in place so it's nice and secure. Obviously then I've got two pieces, so I'm just sewing onto the wings. I don't know that this is going to take very, very long, but I do need to just do it. I think that's true for quite a lot of them. It's a little bit tedious to sew on a million sequins, and then I'll have to sew around the edge. And I think I'm also just worried it's going to look pants. So we'll see. Pink isn't particularly my colour, so this one may end up being a bit of a gift. I just wanted to see if I could make sequins out of sweet wrappers. And I think basically the answer is yes, you can, and it looks fine. So I've somewhat also sated my curiosity. But yeah, small sewing project. And I guess this one also goes in a bag quite well. So if I want to take projects away, I've noticed that I've been casting on a lot of projects for taking them away. So I want to try and avoid that as well. I made this hat. It is too short. I need to extend the brim down by like an inch or so with just some red wool. Again, it's like mending. It's like sewing up the hole in your socks. You know you should, but you haven't for a while. It has Kentucky Fried Cruelty written on it because I read that in This Is Vegan Propaganda and I thought it was quite good. I wasn't an aggressive enough protester, I think, to enjoy it. I gave it the KFC stripes, like a KFC bucket hat. Yeah. I wasn't an angry enough vegan protester to feel comfortable wearing it either, so I was going to gift it away. I just wanted to make it. And I'm going to more protests, so maybe it's my hat now. It was just waiting for me to get angry. So I just need to extend it. It won't take very long. It's just been sat on the floor waiting for me to either put it in the post or to somebody that's an actual activist, gift it on, or finish it. That's all that is. That won't take long either. It's just been waiting. This is a new skill. I'm running out of time, which is why I'm talking so fast. This is a new skill, and it is just like the trollen wheel for Viking style braids. I haven't even looked at it. It's just been sat there waiting for me. I'm gonna run out of time again. Edit number 2. Cool, we're on the SD card. Time to start again. Just kidding, I would die. So this is a spinning project. And this is nettle. So I've done some stuff with nettle before. I wasn't able to get it particularly nice and soft, and I know that that's something that you can do, so that was my goal, to make it something sort of approaching linen more. So I was having a go at basically scutching it harder. So this is nettle from last summer that I collected, and it's been stripped, and then I've just been scraping at it with a butter knife against a wooden block to make it softer, and then spinning it up. So this was basically a single ply of that. I've got some of the fibre prepped to make it kind of just in the soft one in this little fibre storage thingy I made. And then I've just been spinning it on a spindle. I have noticed it's been breaking more. So I'm thinking I might need to have a bit of a rehydrate with it. But also, I don't know if the material's just been too long. I'm thinking I might have a go at rehydrating to see what that feels like, soaking some stuff in water, because it has been sat for a year. Soak it in water, let it kind of dryish again, and then spin it, but I don't know. So I'm not sure. I might just ply this, and then I've got my kind of soft nettle fibre. I would like to be able to work out how to make nice soft nettle stuff. I might do some more experimenting, but my enthusiasm for it is somewhat waning. So I don't know. I'll come back to it, or I won't. Either way, it would be nice to finish it and get this project bag, which I made out of a failed WIP. Sort I-cord. It would be nice to have this project bag just back into circulation as a bag or project bag, and just get it off the floor. Final WIP. My gosh, there's so many. I should probably have counted them. I might count them as I put them back in the basket. This one isn't started yet. This is just planned. But I really like the idea of doing, like, you know, the 80s cartoon character jumpers. I was thinking about how I could incorporate, like, more alternative styles into things. And I was like, what if I made an Iron Maiden jumper that was like the cartoon character jumpers? And it was just like this all over big graphic print, and it was very clearly hand knitted and had that vibe. So I'm doing the Killers Eddie, which if you look up Killers Iron Maiden, you'll find it. And it's the album cover, and I've just been trying to design the chart for it. This is the latest iteration. And I've just been there with my pencils. It's quite tedious work, it's quite hard. I've had to, like, go through a few times to try and make it get the detail and stuff. It's hard work to minimise it without losing all of the detail. So this is what I've got so far. I need to finish doing the hair, and then I think it pretty much is just the hair. Yeah, the top of the shoulders like filled in, so I just need to finish doing the hair. I need to work out writing Iron Maiden across the top, but that should be easy. And then I'll start knitting this. So this is just kind of done as a WIP to finish the design of it. And then when I get this down to a better level, I can actually start knitting it. So let's count these bad boys back in. That is 1, 2, 3. 19, 20, 21. Oh, what a lovely mathematically satisfying number. Oh, I do like multiples of 7. Okay, 21 WIPs collected from the living room floor, some of which will take 5 minutes, some of which will take 50 hours, not even an exaggeration. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to try and get that down to, I think it would be quite satisfying to get that down to 7, so a third. Quite a nice little number. I think 7 projects will sit in here quite comfortably on my living room floor. I did for a period of time want to have it down at 2. Previously, when I was trying to make sure that that spot by the sofa didn't get too overflowing and I wanted to only have 2 WIPs there. I think that's not enough. So I think having it as a basket, if it fits in the basket and around 7, that's going to be good. So I'm going to not start any new knitting projects until I get down to at least fitting in the basket, if not 7. I don't think I'm going to fully put a moratorium on me starting other types of crafting project. So if I want to start doing like some weaving, I guess, I don't know, probably not weaving, but if I want to start necessarily maybe a crochet project, because sometimes you just need like a little something and it can be quite a nice solution to crochet it, like a little pouch or whatever. So like I crocheted a pouch the other day to just put some little bits in to be able to then give them away. So I think little crochet projects that I might need to just make a little something for, not like a big jumper or a blanket or anything like that, but little things like that. And I want to do more sewing. That's part of my process. So if I want to start another sewing project, like if I want to make some different mock-ups and different designs of things for learning more about trousers, I think it's helpful not to stifle that too hard when I can. Yeah, I think that's going to be the helpful thing to achieve the less mess in the living room and less focusing exclusively on knitting. To get to the third section of this podcast episode. God, this is so chaotic. I think my goal is going to have to be to make it, not 1, don't film when I'm really tired, and 2, so tired I've forgotten, make it better. Make a better one that's not stupid and weird and edited funny. Is new yarn or acquisitions. So I spun this, I finished the plying on this. I've got more on the single, so I need to do some a second bobbin. Probably not as full as this one, I think I've done more than half, but this is just grey yarn. This is from Florence. I've got Florence the sheep. She's a Shetland Cross Hebridean. It's that thick, whatever that thickness is. And I've got her fleece from last year and also from this year, so I think this is some of last year's fleece because I haven't washed this year's yet. And yeah, this is just basic spun, no particular project planned for it. But that's what that is. And I've also got the 3 little mini skeins. These all need to be like washed, wet set, etc. These are 3 mini skeins from my thistledown video, so those need to be washed. It's alpaca, this is Florence's wool, and then this is the, I can't remember if this is Barbara or Southdown. I don't know. I say it in the video if you want to know what I've spun. So this is my new yarn. I haven't gone yarn shopping. I'm pretty good about not going yarn shopping, I'm gonna be honest. There was a point where I wasn't, and I think now, as I've got better about not buying things in general, I've just got better about not buying yarn as well. So the last time I bought anything, it was for my trousers, and it was like this ball of marble chunky. But I've almost knitted all the way through all of these, plus some other stuff I had in stash. So I think that is a good use of that yarn, and I think we bought it in like February. It was definitely still winter. But yeah, this concludes the very sleepy start to my WIP busting challenge. I'm going to try and check in fortnightly. I get quite a lot of time for knitting and crafting, so I'm hoping to have some like finished objects. Maybe not every week, maybe for some of the smaller ones I'll have some projects that are finished, but either way some good updates on some of the ones I've done. Yeah, this has been chaotic. You can fit a lot of rubles in a dead rat if you really try though, so catch you later.